Hi everyone, it's Dr. Michael Johnson. I'm in my office today on a Friday. Normally we see patients Monday through Thursday, but I'm here waiting on a FedEx package that FedEx failed to deliver because it's a long story. So today's topic is why medical doctors don't like me. And I'll tell you in a nutshell, it's because I call it the way I see it. Healthcare is not healthcare anymore, folks. It's business care. Big pharma runs the healthcare industry, the business care industry, the drug companies. They have their reps go into medical doctors' offices and tell the medical doctors what to do, exactly what to do. And I know this because I've had drug reps as patients in my 35, 36 years of practice. So that's the reason. And what really tipped this off is I was reading the Wall Street Journal this morning, and on the front page it says, hospitals push doctors to keep referrals in-house. And the reason hospitals are pushing doctors to keep referrals in-house, and you can read the article, today is the 28th of December, 2018, Wall Street Journal, front page. And the reason is money. It's money. Now, I'm not saying every single medical doctor, all they care about is money, but the majority, it's money. And how do I know this? Well, I belong to a golf club that has a lot of medical doctors as members. Some of these medical doctors are my closest friends. And to be perfectly honest, we don't discuss money and we don't discuss healthcare. We'll talk about golf, we'll talk about food, we'll talk about wine, we'll talk about travel, we'll talk about anything but money and healthcare. So that's why I say I'm not generalizing every single medical doctor, but the majority, because I was in Starbucks just last week. Two medical doctors there that I know sitting talking, and all they're talking about is reimbursements for next year and how they're going to be lowered and what they're going to do and all this. Wow. What about the patient? Listen, I consult with doctors. What I tell every doctor is focus on the patient, get the patient better, and you will make a professional income. Does that make sense? I'm not saying you shouldn't make a professional income, but that shouldn't be your primary focus. You make a professional income because you get people better. Nobody else can get better. It's crazy. Let me give you an example. I had a patient, so this is like the tipping point, this Wall Street article. I had a patient in yesterday, really a nice guy. Him and his wife are sitting here right in front of me, and he got on this new medication and he's worse. But get this, the medication is $1,500 per pill, and he has to take 2 pills a day. $3,000 a day. One medication, his insurance and Medicare are picking it up. But yet they won't pay for stem cell therapy. Folks, insurance will never cover stem cell therapy. Let me tell you why. Because it's about big pharma. Big pharma doesn't want stem cell therapy to succeed because big pharma makes billions of dollars. Healthcare insurers make billions of dollars. The reason they make billions of dollars is they have investors and they have to pay dividends to those investors. And the only way they can pay dividends to those investors is if they charge a lot of money. And so if insurance companies pay $3,000 a day for a pill or 2 pills, then they can justify charging high premiums. Then they can justify giving large dividends back to their investors. Folks, this isn't health care. This is business care. Actually, this is money care. It's crazy. Just crazy. I mean, I can give you hundreds of examples. I'll give you another example. I was watching the news last week, and the adenovirus, which is a very common virus, and it's going through the colleges, and a college student, she passed away, unfortunately, because of the adenovirus. And they just gave a little blurb on the backstory of it. The reason she passed away, apparently, is she had a severe autoimmune condition, and she was taking a drug for it, a medication, which suppressed her immune system so low, that's why she passed away. I have an article back behind me, and it's a CNN article. I can send it to you. I'll send it to you. But it basically states that medical errors in care is the third leading cause of death. It causes 251,454 deaths per year due to medical errors. Medical doctors bury their mistakes. And they don't like it when I say that, and I don't really care. They don't like the fact that I've made my living for over 35 years on their mistakes. Look, I tell every medical doctor, you don't want people to see me? Just get them better. What's the issue? I have a patient. He's lost 60 pounds. He had terribly high blood pressure, terrible heart conditions. I have videos. He saw my video on how to reverse heart disease. He saw my video on cholesterol and why you need cholesterol to make hormones and why it's good for you and why your cholesterol should be 200 to 220 and not 140 or 130. And so he loses 60 pounds and his blood pressure is 118 over 78. And he asked his doctor, because I told him, look, I can't take you off the meds. That's outside of my scope of practice. I mean, they would just clip my wings if I did that. Goes back to his MD, said, look, my blood pressure is perfect. I've been checking it every day. Here's the numbers. Can I get off these meds? No. You don't want to do that. You want a maintenance dose. Who the hell wants a maintenance dose of medicine? Yeah, you can tell I get a little perturbed. I mean, I've been seeing this for 36 years. Okay, so you have high blood pressure because your body's lacking in this medication? No, you have high blood pressure because of poor lifestyle choices. And yes, some of it may be genetic, but then do genetic testing, do hormone testing, do blood work, find the cause. What are the triggers? Trigger testing is one of the biggest things that I help blood pressure patients with. Do they have heavy metal toxicity? Do they have chemical toxicity? Do they have an underlying infection? Do they have all three? Big Pharma drives this healthcare system, and it is not healthcare. It isn't even business care. It's money care. Ay vey. Yeah, that one is just crazy. So, it's been said, there's no money in the fix, folks. There's no money in the cure. There's no money in getting people better. The money is maintenance. The money is just like that medical doctor said. The money is in just maintaining the patient. And okay, you start off with one or two medications. Oh, okay, well, your side effects to these meds. Here's the side effects. Oh, you have side effects? Well, here, take a couple more. Pretty soon, patients are in their 70s. They're taking 15, 20 different meds a day. They can't keep track of their pills. I see it all the time. Medical doctors are great when it comes to acute care. Don't get me wrong. I'm not anti-medicine. When it comes to heart attacks, broken bones, strokes, you're in a car accident. Medicine shines in this country with acute care. Medicine totally drops the ball. Medicine is incompetent when it comes to chronic conditions, chronic autoimmune conditions, chronic neurological conditions, you name it, chronic kidney, chronic liver, chronic lung disease. Even when it comes to cancer. I mean, now the big push, I had a patient, or she wasn't a patient, she was just, keep in mind, folks, I get hundreds of contacts during the course of the week because of my videos. She had emailed me and then called me and I spoke to her. Her son was on the new MS drug, Ocrevus, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's garbage. I don't like the stuff. But it's a chemotherapy drug. He had had 2 infusions at $65,000 each. The insurance paid $70,000 out of that $130,000 bill, and the neurologist wanted another $30,000. The problem was the drug put the boy, 33 years old with MS, from walking with a cane into a wheelchair. That's criminal. That's nothing but criminal. And yet, it just keeps coming. Now, the drug companies, Big Pharma's excuse is, well, we need this money for research. What a bunch of crap. It's the biggest bunch of crap I've ever heard. There are no miracle drugs. And that drug, Ocrevus, that's the miracle drug for MS. It's changing lives. Those people don't walk into my office. The people that have tried it and then gotten worse, those people walk into my office. Crazy. Just crazy. I have another patient. We did a test called the IV gene test. I can give you the link for it. It is the test for cancer. So if you suspect you have cancer, it's a genetic test for cancer. Showed that she has cancer. I mean, we first noticed it on her blood work. That's why we do complete blood work. And we did the IV gene, so we sent her to an oncologist. Oncologist says, I don't recognize that test. Meanwhile, she is slowly wasting away and dying. And because the medical doctors refuse to help her. There are medical doctors out there, folks, who will lie, cheat, steal. They'll do anything for more money. That's a cold, hard fact. And I'm not saying that's a case in every case. It's not. Some of my best friends are medical doctors. I will say this. They're mostly radiologists. So they're not addressing patients. But a couple of them do address patients, and they're great doctors. We never talk about healthcare because we're on opposite ends of the spectrum. And we never will. We'll never agree on it. But that Wall Street article, hospitals, how do you think hospitals are building these palaces? It isn't because they're not making any money. You know, I have patients. I have lung disease patients, COPD patients, emphysema patients, and they're getting better. And we have a ton more videos. And yet I have pulmonologists telling patients, these same patients, your lungs can't heal. Don't go see Johnson. He's a quack. He's a charlatan. He's a scam artist. I mean, like, seriously. I've been hearing that for 35 years. Come up with call me Godzilla. Call me Frankenstein. But, calling me a quack and a charlatan and a scam artist, I mean, I heard that the first week in practice. Let me tell you this one. I had an orthopedic surgeon, first month in practice. I'm at some meeting in town here. And he tells me, we're putting you chiropractors out of business. I go, what? Haven't you heard about chymopapine? See, chymopapine was a papaya enzyme that supposedly dissolved the bulging disc, but it dissolved all the other tissue. There were so many complications and it killed people that they took it off the market. So, you wouldn't go ask a Ford dealer if you should buy a Chevy, right? Why would you ask a medical doctor if you should go into try natural health care? It's competition. It's money. It's all about the dollar with the vast majority of medical doctors, and it's certainly the case with hospitals, and it's certainly the case with big pharma. The pharmaceutical companies, baby, they run the show. And it's not good. I'll tell you another story. We have a patient, and you're going to see a video of this patient because this is a great story. George had a stroke. And this is where medicine comes in. You have a stroke, you go to the emergency room, but he was paralyzed. His entire left side is paralyzed. Great guy, comes in with his wife every week. They drive about an hour one way. Well, yesterday, Thursday, George and his wife come in, and his wife goes, I got a video to show you. And I'm thinking, well, it's the grandkids, it's Christmas. And sure enough, it's It's George walking for the first time. Let me repeat that. He's in a wheelchair since his stroke, hasn't gotten out of that wheelchair. It's a motorized chair now, left side paralyzed. George is walking for the first time. You are going to see that video. They're coming in next week. They're going to do a video testimonial, and I'm going to get a copy of that video that she showed me. That's what we do in our office. We get people better. Nobody else can get better. Lung disease, kidney disease, liver disease, autoimmune disorders, neurological conditions like MS, and strokes like George. I have this attitude that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get you better. That's my attitude. And that's the attitude and approach I took with George, and it paid off. I'll have some people email, and I get a lot of emails. They're like, how are you even still alive? Because you hear about all these natural healthcare doctors getting knocked off or mysteriously dying. So if I suddenly drop dead of a heart attack, or if I'm in an accident and die, you know it's big pharma. Personally, I think it's just coincidental, but the numbers keep going up. I don't know. There's no money in the fix, folks. And yet, we fix you. And stem cell therapy is not inexpensive, but it's just not stem cell therapy. You have to do complete blood work. You have to do and look at pregnenolone with complete hormone testing. Watch my videos. I talk about pregnenolone. I won't get into it here. You need complete genetic testing. You need complete trigger testing. We did talk about that. And that is trigger testing of heavy metals, chemical toxicities, underlying infections. Now, I'm sure you can tell I'm a little bit passionate about this whole thing. And so when I see this article, and I'll tell you one last story. Last June, I have this pulmonologist call me. He goes, hey, Dr. Johnson, we've been hearing about stem cell, and we'd like you to come and talk to our Better Breathers Association at the hospital about how stem cells could possibly help them. Well, this was a total charade. This was a total lie. The only reason he wanted me there was to try to embarrass me, to try to humiliate me, which I'm not easily humiliated. So I get there, I tell him what we do. So he didn't tell me. If he would have just been straight up and he said, hey, why don't you come? I'd like to debate you about stem cell therapy and the scientific literature behind it. Boom, I'm in. I'll crush you. But that's not what he told me. He just said so I geared it toward the patients. I didn't gear it toward scientific research, controlled, double-blinded, randomized studies, which there are a ton. Go to PubMed.com, type in stem cell therapy and COPD. You'll see hundreds, thousands of articles. So I put on my dog and pony show, and he gets his turn, and he just goes mental. I mean, he has a meltdown. He's screaming and yelling because this is a scientific community, controlled, double-blinded, randomized study. So after the talk, I was just going to let it go, but I did write him a letter, and here's the letter. I'm going to read you some of it, not all of it, because I put in all the scientific studies, like 100. Dear Dr. Leonard, your unprofessional conduct at today's meeting was beyond ridiculous. You should be ashamed of yourself, and I know he's not. But I know you are not because of your ego. And keep in mind, when I got to the meeting and I see this guy, he looks like the hippy-dippy weatherman. He's got a big beard and long hair, and I know, I'm being biased, first impressions, and he's got the Birkenstocks on, and I'm going, oh, okay, maybe he's open. And normally if someone invites you to a talk, they'll come up and introduce themselves. He didn't. So I know there was going to be an issue there, and I almost left, and I'm like, nah, just ride it out. Talk about the pot calling the kettle black. All the while that you were ranting and raving, and he did. He had a meltdown. I thought the following to myself, and I did. He's so mental, he's spitting. I see the spray coming out of his mouth. And I wrote, medicine is so scientifically based. I said, what about all the colleagues using medications off labels? What about that? I'll give you an example. Lyrica is not a fibromyalgia medication, folks. It's a seizure medication. Neurontin and gabapentin, they're not peripheral neuropathy medications. They are seizure medications. And so these doctors are using it off-label. So there is no controlled randomized double-blind study to support these actions, yet it happens millions of times per year. What about the opioid crisis that the medical doctors and the drug companies created? You see now that the same attorney I saw in 60 Minutes who went after big tobacco is going after these opioid companies, the pharmaceutical industry. He should go after the doctors. This is criminal. This proves that it's just about the money. Opioids were all scientifically approved, this is what I wrote in the letter, before you and your colleagues started handing them out like candy. What about that? Riddle me that one, Batman. And this is why when you throw this scientific bullcrap up in my face, I just shut it right down. Because these studies are controlled by Big Pharma. They're monetized by Big Pharma. These research want to keep getting the grants, the money for the research from Big Pharma. They had better tell Big Pharma what they want to hear. What about the medical errors that cost 250,000 patients their lives every year? What about that? I just told you about the CNN article. I can show it to you. It's the third leading cause of death. Medical doctors bury their mistakes. Some will lie, cheat, and steal and bury you for that almighty dollar. I've seen it happen time and time and time and time and time again. What about Vioxx killing 60,000 people? This is what I wrote. Vioxx was approved with controlled, randomized, and double-blinded studies. I've heard that the Vioxx estimate is extremely low. It's actually 4 to 5 times higher. 300,000 people died before the Food and Drug Administration pulled it off the market. What about that? This one he didn't like. If what you're doing was working, lung disease patients would not be seeking our care, period. He had seen some of these videos. Maybe he'll see this. I could care less. I have a First Amendment right to my opinion. But, yeah. He had seen some of my videos, and he didn't like the fact that I said that I make my living off the medical profession's mistakes. And I do. I mean, if you don't want people to see me, Dr. Leonard, just get those people better. Because in that group of the better breathers, there were 2 of my patients who had gotten better. And when people would ask me questions, I'd say, well, just ask Art. Art will tell you. And Art did a video for me. So then I went on and I showed him the stem cell scientific studies. And, you know, it's not just stem cells. So in a way, they're partially right, a little bit. But yeah. And all the bad things, like I've got to answer an email today. I just saw a lady's concerned because a medical doctor told her that stem cells cause cancer. Partially correct, because fetal stem cells or embryonic stem cells, which are stem cells from aborted fetuses, they don't know when to stop growing. There's no apoptosis where it stops growing. They don't know when to stop. So that's what causes cancer. Fetal stem cells or stem cells from aborted fetuses are illegal in the United States. So you see, it's easy to take some facts and just twist them. And medical doctors are good at that. So this is what one attendee, and I wrote this to Leonard, Chris McMahon wrote to me. Reason Better Breathers meeting today. I'm sorry that your informative segment ended in such a manner. It was difficult for you, but you handled yourself well. Yeah, the guy's sitting there. I'm just watching him go ballistic. What am I supposed to do? The doctor involved was disgusting, and I'm sorry you had to endure this. Whether the process works or not, or no matter how people feel about any process, they deserve to be heard in a respectful manner. Thank you for taking the time. And I told, this is what I told Leonard. I said, thank you for taking the time to make a complete fool of yourself and helping me to build my practice. And I said this, in closing, you are a disgrace to your profession, and yes, I will be producing a video on your actions. And I guess I am. I wasn't going to. Honestly, it was like, I'm too busy. It's water under the bridge. And it is. But when I saw this article about hospitals push doctors to keep referrals in-house, he's the first boy that I thought of. Because he's all about the money. Even though he looks like the hippy-dippy weatherman, that's all he cares about. I can tell. And that's my opinion. I'm allowed to have it. So, yeah. Folks, here's my advice. Here's the takeaway. When you're seeing a medical doctor, ask questions. If they don't allow questions, find another medical doctor. There are plenty of medical doctors out there. Your medical doctor is not so great that there isn't someone who will listen to you. If they won't take you off a medication, like my patient who's lost 60 pounds, find another medical doctor. Find someone who will work with you. If they won't work with you, keep looking. Consider alternative healthcare practitioners, chiropractors, naturopaths, someone you feel comfortable with, someone you can trust, a trusted advisor who isn't out just to make a buck. That's the key. So to come full circle, why don't medical doctors like me? Like this doctor, this pulmonologist? It's because I'm out there telling the truth. And thanks to social media, and thanks to you sharing my videos, and thanks to you contacting me, and if you want to get in touch with me, please email me. Don't leave comments in the section. I may not get to them. Just email me. Don't call. I mean, look at this. I have this whole book. These are calls. I ask people to email me, and yet they'll still call the office and want to speak to me. I had a guy drive from St. Louis because his mom, who is a dialysis patient and a wonderful patient, we just saw her last week, she's 78 years old. He wanted to make sure I was real. He had seen me on YouTube. He wanted to check me out. I have no problem with that. People want to talk to me on the phone. I got 10 minutes, yeah. But you've got to email me first. My email is mljohnson@askdrjohnson.com. I'll have it below this video. And speaking of his mom, before she left, this is what she told me. She told her nephrologist, she's a kidney patient, I want to get off dialysis. Dr. Johnson is going to help me. And the nephrologist says, you can't go off dialysis. I have a mortgage payment to make. That's exactly what he told her. I'm Dr. Michael Johnson. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Don't forget, if you need any help, I'm here, mljohnson@askdrjohnson.com. That's mljohnson@askdrjohnson.com. My son, Jens, who I love, who produces all these videos for me, he's going to Peru for the next month. So I'm going to try, I've got a bunch of testimonials and a bunch of things to get up. I'm going to try to do it myself. If I can't, I may not be seeing you for a month. Till Jens gets back, and hopefully he comes back. Oh, I hope he doesn't stay in Peru. He really likes Peru. This is his third time going down there. Thanks for taking the time. And again, ML Johnson at AskDrJohnson.com.